How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
I'm going to go right into this email. Now, normally we save the emails because we get so few. We save them for a rainy day episode, and we do a feedback episode. But I was rather moved by this little one from Tashia. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, but Tasha says, I'm not sure if you'll read this email, but I wanted to contact you to let you know what a great job you gents are doing. I lost my mother at the beginning of November, and it totally derailed me. I had to take off work for a while. I wouldn't eat, and I could barely make it out of bed. I was very close to my mom, and when she got ill, I happily helped my siblings take care of her. She and I had a bond that was unmatched. Losing her has been extremely hard on me, and I thought I would need grief counseling to help me deal with the deep, dark pit I'd been in. Even though I avidly listened to How Bizarre, I went back and re-listened to all the old Tales from the Space Pod stuff. I have to say that both your shows were truly what got me through. Yes, your foul-mouthed irreverence was just what I needed to help lift me out of the darkness. The house is no longer eerily quiet, and I found that I could be distracted and just laugh. When I can't sleep, your voices are what helps soothe me. Seriously, I'm not sure how I would have made it through without your shows. Although most days are still a struggle, I'm slowly but surely starting to feel better. I just want to thank all of you lovely, crazy guys for making life a little less shitty for us all. You may not think what you do has an impact, but it truly does. I love you all, and I'll keep listening. That's an amazing little email. And it's interesting.
That just hit me right in the feels.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I literally just got the notification of that right before I hit record tonight. And I had already planned on starting the show, kind of talking about the show itself and, looking for some feedback as to where we go from here, which we'll get to in just a minute. But yeah, that's pretty heavy. That's a humbling thing to know that we did our silly little part in helping you cope. And like I said, from time to time, we're aware that people are listening, and we're aware that we're part of people's lives. And that's why I feel terrible when we miss weeks. You probably went back to listen to the old episodes because there weren't any new ones popping up. And just sometimes life gets away from you. And we don't make money off of this, so we do have to prioritize some other things. But I do apologize for missing a few weeks. And I'm glad that there are 350 episodes of the old show that can tide people over, and really, really appreciate you sending that heartfelt message. I don't know what else to say other than it really does encourage us to keep on going in spite of the lack of, we never really set out to do this to make money. It would be great to make a little bit of money off of it. We make enough that it doesn't really cost us anything. Like we still have support on the Patreon, which is patreon.com/tales from the space pod. And we occasionally get some donations at paypal.me/thecometmag. Shameless plug right there for those. And I don't even remember to call out for those half the time. So it's not that you guys aren't willing to give. It's just one more thing that we haven't been consistent with, and even reaching out for. But it does make us want to try to keep the train going a little bit more consistently, because it does feel bad when we miss a week, and especially when, good Lord, we're helping people through a difficult time, which is honestly something that I don't really even think about. So it's really good to hear that we've helped in our silly little way. Our little poo-poo and doo-doo podcast has helped you in what I can only imagine is probably one of the darkest times that you will go through in your life. Relationships with our parents, even if they're conflicting, I think I've seen people lose. I still have both of my parents, but I've seen people lose their parents on all ends of the spectrum, where they were like, they had a relationship like you and your mom did, where you were, it was just an unmatched bond that you had, all the way to people that haven't talked to their mom in 20 years. And it's always tough. It's always a weird, strange, heavy experience to lose your parent. So, especially though, when you're close like that, it doesn't really matter how old you are. You know, my mom lost her mom just a few years ago, and she was just as devastated as you. I don't think you're ever really ready to lose your parents for the most part. So, really sorry to hear you going through that. And again, deeply humbled by the thought that this silly little show did any part to help you through that.
You gents got a drink near you?
Yeah, should we cheers? Should we cheers to
Tasha and her mom?
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
And it's appropriate that I spilled a little bit for all of our fallen homies. Is homies unisex? Is there? We don't change homies for females, do we? No. That's a unisex word. Yeah, one for our fallen homies. But another reason why I thought it was interesting that we got that kind of an email was I was going to originally plan to put out a little listener poll. Tonight's just going to be a little news story, shoot the shit, getting caught up on where we are. And those tend to be our most downloaded shows. I know I've talked about this before. Now, sometimes I'll do a soup de jour. We'll talk about the, I'll pick some topic, history of TV dinners, or the ice truck killer, which I just realized was from Dexter and not a real thing. And then other times there are themed shows, not so much a soup de jour, but I'll go through like lists that are themed. Those all are doing pretty well, but nothing gets downloaded as much as our news episodes. So my question is, are you, the listeners, more interested in this particular format? I'll say this. They're a hell of a lot easier to research for, but I don't mind doing the soup de jours. I like them, but I wouldn't mind nixing them if, that's not what people want.
What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want in your mouth?
We want to know what you want. And we want to know.
I guess.
What I do like about this format on the news shows is that because there isn't like, one thing I don't like about the soup de jours is I'm always kind of looking at the clock. I know how much I got to get through to tell the story, and it's always just like kind of going. And it doesn't have that free form feeling like these shows do, where it's like, if I get to that story, I'll get to it. And if I don't, I'll save it. It's not that big a deal. And sometimes we don't get to any of the stories. We just get shooting the shit. And I like that aspect of it. And I think a lot of you listeners like that aspect of it. But the other thing is, I'm not sure if these news stories are more news episodes are more downloaded because people are like randomly checking in with certain things that may ping in a search, like a news story of the day, or if it's our listeners at large that just prefer those episodes and so we get more of them. I don't know, but we want your feedback. And as an incentive, because we've asked for feedback before and we just don't really get it. We know you're listening. We see those numbers, and that's how I know that more people are listening to these kinds of shows. So as an extra incentive, anyone that emails us and weighs in will be entered to win an original painting by yours truly. I have a few. I've been cranking them out. So I've got a few laying around here that I won't know what's available until we get to the time, but I'll put you in a drawing and one of you will win that painting. You'll just be able to choose which one you get. Feedback is valuable and we needs it. Say it again, Chris.
I've been cranking them out too, Ron.
You've been cranking them out? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Want to elaborate?
Mine look more like Jackson Pollock's though.
Well, there's a market for everything. I just sold a miniature stand sign being attacked by tentacles.
Oh my God. Hundreds. That was charming as fuck.
Thank you.
I think you should do a line of those because I saw people just eager for it.
Well, so many people want the same. For those of you who aren't local, there's a fairly well-known, I don't even know what would you even call this kind of store? It's not a supermarket.
No, it was a Walmart before there was a Walmart.
I suppose so. Yeah, it was one of those. It's like a general stores,
department store-ish. Yeah, general stores.
Yeah, it is a department store. It's got a hardware store. It's got your Wrangler jeans. It's got old board games. It's one of those. Stores used to be stores.
Like the Eastern Washington equivalent to Chubby and Tubby for Seattle residents. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's been around for a long time, and it's just kind of it's kind of a landmark store, but it's also got a landmark sign. In fact, if you just Google Stan's, the name Stan 'S, Wenatchee sign, you'll see the sign. And it's just one of those googie 1960s Jetsons era kind of signs. And so it's just sort of iconic. I made a miniature version of it being attacked by tentacles. So I'm not going to do any more Stan's ones, but I am going to do the Wally's Tavern sign will be next. I'm basically taking all the iconic local signs and having tentacles climbing all over. That's what the
When are you going to do
be.
Sharkies? What's the name of that place?
Oh, that place is gone.
The bar? Oh, the Sharks has been gone. Sharks was gone before you moved.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh God, I went one time, thought it was the coolest place, never went again.
Yeah,
that's because it had the fish tank bar tables, and
it sure looked cool though.
Yeah, it did.
It stunk real bad though.
Yeah.
It's a smelly place.
What is that? I think that's is that a Thai food place now? I can't remember where. Was Sharks the one that was right by the Cascadian, or was that further down the Ave?
It was across the street from the convention center.
Yeah, so it was right next to. Yeah, it's a Thai restaurant now. Crazy. I remember watching the World Cup in there. Were you there? Huh? Was that when you were down there? Because Nathan and Trish and I were down there watching the World Cup. They had the little TVs at every booth, which no one had done that at the time.
They used to do a rock band and like rock band where you get up and sing and play all the instruments and had a projector.
I don't remember that. I was down there. I know with Leandra and Brandon and what's his kisser that you guys all came with? Dan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dan. Oh boy.
Yep. That's a whole nother podcast.
We could do a whole podcast on the saga of that whole arc at the Wenatchee World, but we shan't. Anyway, so weigh in on what you may as well take the time, what you like about the show, what you don't like. You won't hurt our feelings, maybe. But be honest. We want to know where to put our energy and where not to put our energy. The show's going to keep on going, so we may as well do it the way you want. Obviously, we want to do it the way we want because we aren't making money and we're doing it as much for us as for you. And if we're not having fun with it, we would just get burnout and go away from it. So I think there's probably something that we can all agree on. And if the feedback is just all over the map, we'll just keep on trucking ahead. But I got a feeling that things are probably going to start hewing more toward the news roundup format of the show. But we shall see.
Did you hear anything about the video cast we ended up doing?
No feedback that I can remember, but it got quite a few views.
All right.
I think I got a feeling that there are very few people that see the videos and listen to the podcast. I think we have two sets of audiences. This is true, like when we did the game show, or we've done, we've done some other things. By the way, I keep forgetting to put the audio up for that.
You son of a bitch.
I'll put that up. That'll explain why you got a Thanksgiving episode. December 15th. But it works. We just played some games, and I'll even leave the Mad Gab part in there, even though that's a visual game. I think you could probably play along with it just as well, just hearing how people are saying the words, you could probably guess along. But then the rest of it is just like some Thanksgiving trivia, and then a round of news quiz or weird. I keep going back to the old way. Weird trivia.
Maybe we should just revert. Maybe you can do a new song that you'll never play for me.
That's true. I did lose the song. It would take me 20 minutes to re-record it, but I really want to go just pull it out of one of the old episodes, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
I want twice the effort this time, Ron.
60 minutes in the studio? I don't know.
Speaking of what Ron's doing, I thought your QVC commercial was charming as fuck.
Oh,
in fact, I ended up pulling up Etsy and Ron's website, and I was ordering shit, getting drunk, having a good time. It was awesome.
Yeah, I heard from a lot of people that said that they were just enjoying watching it, having a drink, and they didn't really plan on buying anything because they didn't have any money, or maybe they don't like my style, but they were just enjoying it. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to be entertaining, because if people weren't watching it, no one was going to buy anyway. But holy shit, I sold a shit ton of jewelry. Mostly jewelry. I sold some other things. Sarah sold quite a few of her pieces. I don't know how much of her stuff was from the infomercial because she made a post on Instagram the next day. It started picking up, but probably 80% of my stock that I put up for that sale is gone. The only thing that is left is a couple of pieces of jewelry and a few paintings. But yeah, you know what's funny is that I made that and then it got a great response. So I'm definitely going to do it again and probably a few times a year. But
I was going to say like quarterly maybe or something.
Yeah,
like,
when I have a new pile of stuff. And maybe I can tie it into a holiday. There's always some holiday coming up. But so I made that, and then I saw that Joe Bob Briggs was doing a Christmas special on Shudder featuring a couple of horror Christmas themed horror movies. And so I signed on. Now he does these on Shudder. He has his show. Joe Bob Briggs is the horror host. I'm sure you've heard me talk about him many times on the show. And he just introduces the movies, and because there's no commercials on Shudder, they just take breaks to get back to him shooting the shit. And people watch it because that's what they want to see. They want to hear his commentary on the movie, the little gags and jokes that they do along the way. But he's always got a theme. And he usually, of course, ties it into whatever holiday. And you don't know what movies he's going to be watching until you watch it. And that's kind of fun. You just tune in and see what you get. Well, this year's theme, 3 days after I did the Home Shopping Network thing, was Home Shopping Network. He and the male girl Darcy were selling some movie props and some miscellaneous things from their previous shows.
Well, sounds like you'll see him in court.
Yeah, I have my papers drawn up. It's crazy how often that happens. I'm always ahead of somebody else just slightly, and it never works out in my favor. Because now I'm still uploading some of those clips to my Instagram page, and it's just like anyone who saw those will be like, oh, he's ripping off Joe Bob Briggs. Which I did rip off Joe Bob Briggs for the my horror hosting. I presented it, I think, in a very Joe Bob Briggs way, or attempted to, I shall say. Before we get moving on to any news or anything you guys want to talk about, shooting the shit, it's all open tonight. I had a mini rant here, and it involves the Queen's Gambit.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
You don't need to have watched the show. It might help if you've watched the show to have perspective on where I'm coming from.
But it'd be cooler if you did.
Yeah, cooler if you did. There's something going around concerning this show that's bugging me. And this, I don't know who this woman was, but somebody posted on Twitter. It was the scan of, without going too much into.
I feel like I know where this is going, and I'm so excited for it.
Oh, good. Somewhere in the, you don't have to get too much into the story to know that it's a female lead, and she's an addict of both pills and booze. And in this one particular scene that is snapshot on this Twitter post is a scene where she's like sitting on her couch, I think like in her undies, chain smoking and drinking out of the bottle. And, going through her various stages of depression and what have you. The caption that this woman posted with that picture was, "This is what men think women look like at the rock bottom," or something like that. And this started making its rounds quite a bit. And a friend of mine posted it on Facebook, and I didn't really think too much about it. I thought it was just sort of an odd observation and moved on, but it kept popping up in my feed as more people were posting about it. And it seemed like it started to become mostly men weighing in and saying things like, oh, yeah, that's totally a fetishistic bullshit macho fantasy version of rock bottom or whatever. And then saying that that's why they stopped watching the show or they didn't support the show. And I'm really confused by this because now, I didn't when the post first came out, but now I have seen the entire first season of the show. Mm-hmm. And I can say that first off, whether it's written and directed by a man, which it is, or not, it's mostly a female cast, predominant, the leading roles anyway, predominantly female centric themes from a female standpoint in a time where, sexism was so prevalent that the word sexism didn't even really exist. It was just kind of how we did things. So first of all, why go after this show? And what made this woman on Twitter think that she had the right to weigh in on what rock bottom looks like to anyone other than herself? Because I guarantee you that that picture is exactly what rock bottom looks like to a lot of people. I mean, like, just because you have a vagina doesn't mean you can just dismiss one version of a woman at a low point in her life over another. Why do you even hate this? Do you hate that she's cute? I mean, she is cute. She's a cute actress. What, cute people can't be at their lowest? They can't be at a low point? Mm-hmm. Is it because she's not 300 pounds from eating her depression away in bonbons and pizza? That's rock bottom too for some people. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. My thought was, it's just like, just because you don't recognize what that picture was doesn't mean that it's your place to call bullshit on it. And I found it strangely alienating and dismissive of other women. And I don't know, if the only thing that was bugging her was that it was being directed or written by a man, again, why go after this show? It's female centric and it has all those traits that I mentioned earlier. But also, do we really want a society where only women can write scenes and direct scenes for female actors, or men for men, or gays for gays? That seems pretty fucking stupid. So I don't really get why this post seems to have resonated with so many people, why they've agreed with her initial point. I find it idiotic and arrogant and honestly a little anti-women. But thoughts, prayers?
I think your first mistake is paying too much attention to something that was posted on Twitter.
I almost never do, but occasionally something will just get, you know how something just kind of sneaks into your brain, and then you do
just dwell on it.
I suppose it is a mistake to dwell on it, or it's kind of like how, you know, when you look at a cloud, should you bother to take the time to figure out what that cloud looks like, or should you just accept it's a cloud and move on?
Honestly, if you think about it too much, you could go into a fucking death spiral like you kind of are right now about this particular issue.
Well, I'm certainly not all out of sorts over it. I'm curious why it resonated with so many people and why they found her point to be valid.
I have to say, I saw this exact same thing, and it enraged me for a split second, but for a different reason. I really liked Queen's Gambit. I really enjoyed the shit out of that show. If I'm not mistaken, the scene that is in context to is when it's like episode 3. It's when she has met, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this, it's been out for a while now. Fast forward 2 minutes. She meets like this hippie guy and loses her virginity, and like she's partying at his house while he's away. And it's like when she first we see her discover weed, and she's putting a record on and letting loose. She's all by herself, and she doesn't want to go home. And so that wasn't her darkest point by any stretch in that fucking story.
Oh,
like
no.
that happens like episode 8 when right before the end.
Right.
She hits rock bottom and she don't look cute. She got wine-stained teeth and eyeliner that really looks scary. Like there was a time where I was
you're
like,
right. Those wings, those eyeliner wings, really went askew, which was a good choice.
And it made you uncomfortable, and that was rock bottom. Like that's clearly when she was at rock bottom. So like they took a scene about, a story about a troubled girl that they know is troubled, and they took a scene from On the Way Down, but still not rock bottom by any stretch, and tried to say that as, this is what men think of women at rock bottom. I'm like, bitch, you don't even know. Wait till you get to episode 8.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe she didn't even get through the end of the season. I wonder how this post has gone for her, because again, I don't know. Maybe this woman is of some renown and she's got like a big following. I don't know who's who on Twitter. There are people who are, of course, just famous on Twitter because of Twitter.
It's all about the clicks and the likes and the retweets and the shares and the fucking engagement.
She's the twatter. Well, she's famous now, and I'm curious if this has caused any blowback. Well, I'm sure it has, but I'm wondering if she has a different stance on it. Of course it
has. It's Twitter.
But, and I see, that's where I draw the line. It would never occur to me to like go, yeah, well, the cat slapping the keyboard 50 miles an hour, angrily tweeting back. I don't subscribe. I process and move on. But it was more about, and it's a different thing when you see someone tweet something versus someone quite well post that tweet and in sort of support of it, and then seeing other people weighing in on it in a way that you don't really relate to. And I was just curious if I was missing something and how you all felt about that show in general, in terms of like a portrayal of a woman who's in a pretty bad spot, there's very little enviable about this character, even when times are good, like quote unquote good. There's very little to be like, yeah, that's the life I want. So you can't really say that they're glamorizing anything. I don't see it as a glamorization. And yeah, you're right. It definitely did get darker. So I don't know. I don't know why this particular thing jumped out at me. But after watching the show, I was like, this is the wrong show to go after. But this is what we fucking do. It's popular right now. And so
that's a culture.
You leech on to the things that are popular because you know that's what's going to get you retweeted, and it worked. So ultimately, maybe we're not talking about real ideals. We're just talking about, like John Mark said, clicks and retweets. But yeah, I enjoyed the show.
I think that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's what it ultimately comes down to, because there's so many things people can have. You can, like, this has been a thing for me for a long time where I will read some books by, you know, a fantasy author. I'll read like 5 or 6 of their books. And then, you know, at some point in time, I'll read a thread somewhere on the internet about this author or the books or something. And people will start talking about the political affiliations that the author's throwing in there and all this stuff. I was like, I thought I was reading something about wizards and dragons and shit. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
like, he's obviously espousing this communist blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know, like, I just don't, but that's just me. Like, I don't see that shit because I'm not looking for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when I'm reading a book or watching a movie or a TV show or playing a game, like, unless it's like right there in your face, like, I'm not looking for that shit. I'm looking for escapism. I want to go into that world. I want to be entertained and taken away. You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to look for what's the subtext of this and what is this author, because it's fucking fantasy. I don't want to be thinking about politics when I'm reading about fucking elves and wizards, you know?
Mhm.
So
Right. And they're not always even right. They're often very
well,
wrong. It's
exactly.
just something that they're ascribing out of those words themselves, their interpretation of it. And
they're
then
interpreting it according to their worldview.
And a
then
lot of
they-
times that hijacks the book. Like that,
Right.
a lot of people think, oh, that's just right wing or communist or left wing propaganda. That's pro-Nazi propaganda. It's like, well, fuck. Did you get that out of the author? Did you get that
Yeah.
from some 19-year-old blogger who found his own following on Twitter? Yeah, that shit can be detrimental to creative people who, by no means, even intended for that message to be in there. Go ahead, Lau.
Exactly.
I always got extremely irritated with people that would do that with books to movies or games to movies, and they would take the premise of the game, say like Resident Evil, and then they'll just shoot it just out there, and it's just bad. This is horrible.
We'll just focus on one element of it. Yeah.
But for what John Mark was saying, back it up just a little bit, he's completely right. I know a few actors down in LA, and that's something they actually ask you when you're going for roles and stuff, is like, how many followers do you have on Instagram?
I've heard that.
It's real. It's a real thing. It's disgusting.
Which is hilarious because you can buy followers, and a lot of people do. So if you can buy followers for not that much money, what value is it? Like, name me one other thing that you can just go buy that proves your popularity. But it's 100% true. I think, and I got to be honest, sometimes I have found myself doing that. To like, artists will reach out to me. Well, not right now because I'm not running a gallery, but I would have artists reach out to me, and I would always take a glance at their followers to see, because sometimes that was indicative not of their quality as an artist, and that would never, if they had 50 followers, that would never stop me from booking them. But sometimes a glance at that number, if it was like 250,000, I'd be like, oh, this artist has a good following. And then often, you know, you'd find out that they've been in Juxtapose, they've been in High Fructose and some other art publications, and they're well known. So I get an aspect of it, But that's bizarre to me that, well, fuck Hollywood. Hollywood is nothing but a popularity contest. And they want you, it's basically built-in marketing, I suppose. How many fans are you bringing to this movie as opposed to, are you right for this movie so that we can create something that's a quality product? What a ridiculous way to make art, quote unquote. And I'm not talking like Hollywood should be art film. You can make a perfectly stupid popcorn movie that we all love. You know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Star Wars. These are popcorn movies. These aren't fucking art films with, going back to what John Mark said, with deep political ramifications or implications, I should say. They're not meant to be digested and talked about over and over and over again. Of course we do, but that's all for fun. That's like fluff. But you can still make a fun and quality movie. Hollywood, what a funny thing. Isn't it just seems like it's so antiquated at this point, all of it. All the celebrities, all the fucking studios, theaters have been closed for a year. We're finding other ways of doing breaking movies.
Have you seen the drama back and forth about what is it Universal's doing and all the theaters?
They're suing the theaters that are playing.
No, well, here's what I heard. I heard that they agreed to release Wonder Woman, both in theaters and on HBO Max Christmas Day, which is a big deal. It's the first big movie other than Tenet, I think, which was still kind of I don't even that's not as big. So it's the first.
Be like the Super Bowl. I mean, it's the only thing going to be able to watch, and people are going to do it. You know,
it's the first big movie to be premiered on.
To come to streaming instead of going direct to theater. So it's gonna come to HBO Max, the streaming service, and be in theaters Christmas Day. So you can choose.
Yeah,
I thought they'd been doing this.
And bypassing pay-per-view as well.
Exactly.
So that's the big deal about it. Yeah, it's coming to a streaming service that you don't have to pay extra for.
Yeah, and so if you have a subscription to HBO Max, you get to watch fucking Wonder Woman. But so that happened, and I remember reading that Universal was like, we agreed on that. We're not even upset. Or AMC, one of the theaters was like, go for that. This is perfect. We find this agreeable. It's just this one movie. 2 or 3 weeks went by, and Universal was like, fuck it. We're putting all of our movies, Matrix 4, everything they've got in the can and everything they're doing. They're
Dune.
Oh yeah, and it's the theaters that are like,
and the theaters
bullshit.
Like, whoa,
yeah.
no, we talked about. And so now they're saying that I read an article that said the theaters, I think it was AMC or one of them, is going to charge next to nothing for tickets to these particular movies, so the studios don't make any money because theaters make their money on the eat-ins there.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know, it's getting ugly, but it could be the end of theaters.
I don't know. That could be to go back during COVID. That's the twist of the arm.
I agree, but I also think
half the price in tickets.
Yeah,
that gets me kind of wanted to go.
This is such a fascinating. There's as much as I hate everything that's happening, it's fucking fascinating to wonder about things like that. Like some things I do think it'll be like snapping your fingers and we're back to normal as soon as we're told it's safe to do so, and maybe a little bit easing into it. Let those. Let's let a few waves go out there and go back to shows or go back to a full sold out theater. Yeah, we're going to feel weird about things for a while, but I think ultimately some things will fall back into place. But theaters, there are things that we are spending more time thinking about. Now, I don't think that money or selection or the politics about what even ends up in your fucking local theater, which by the way is 100% bullshit. The whole thing is literally, if you look up the definition of racket, Hollywood and the cineplexes of the world are literally running a racket. But they get away with it because they're fucking Hollywood, and you just watch the shit that they tell you to watch, and you miss 1,000 other better movies you'll never even hear about. But those elements are starting to enter the conversation. So when you have that and you have the money that it costs to go out and spend $12 on popcorn and soda and sit in a theater, which may or may not be a pleasant experience. Some people like it, some people don't, but they put up with it because they want to see the movie before it gets spoiled. They want to see it soon, whatever. There's a lot that goes into the discussion of where theaters go from here and where Hollywood and studios go from here in terms of distribution. I think it's time that we see a little bit of shakeup in that industry. And I think it's time, going back to how we started the show, this humble little podcast has always been a humble little podcast. But 10 years ago, our numbers were much more impressive than what they are now. And now we are one of, there's got to be there has to be at least 5 million podcasts. Maybe not that many, but there's got to
about 5 million.
There's got to be close.
I think there's at least
inch into a million.
I think
right?
there's close to a million. I think it's close to a million. It's like last time I heard someone talking about it was like 900,000 or something like that. I think there's
probably 100 podcasts just on the show The Office. When we started, it wasn't that way. There was like this whole world of podcasting was, you had a couple of celebrities doing it, but they were like D-list celebrities. Joe Rogan was not a celebrity when he started podcasting.
It's nuts, huh?
He was like one of the...
It's so crazy that we started a year after he started. And
it wasn't even... It's like 6 months or something.
Yeah. Bullshit on Justin
and
TV.
We both have been just as
TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we both have been just as successful, right, guys?
We've been like neck and neck this whole way. That's fine.
Tom Green kind of was the forefather of podcasts.
Was he?
Tom Green did his own show.
I haven't heard of Tom Green, but Adam Curry
is the podfather. But Tom Green was sort of like spearheading the do-it-yourself in your own way, in your own home kind of movement with his TV show, because he basically turned his living room into a studio.
Yeah.
And he had all the servers there and cables running everywhere, and he was doing all that stuff. Like, and that was what gave Rogan the idea to do something like that. He's like, oh shit, this is the way, and
the technology back then, you had to encode this shit at a pretty low rate.
It was
so people didn't have to spend 3 hours downloading your half-hour show. I mean, I know it sounds like we're talking 30 years ago. This was just a decade ago. But that's my point, is like how quickly things change. And at one time, podcasts, like it felt more like you had a real shot as a nobody of, casting. Like it was just like, people were discovering it, but people who listened to podcasts were a type of people, right? Like 1 out of every 10 people that you would tell about a podcast even knew what a podcast was. That's just how it was. I think
it's still kind of like that, though.
It is oddly still like that. But now you've got networks putting out podcasts. You've got celebrities, of course, and this mega conglomerate corporations have gotten in on it, and it's a completely different thing. And the racket is coming back into play here, and all the little guys get squeezed out. It's no longer about downloads and, the same algorithms that it used to be.
You're getting like fully produced and funded podcasts now. Like this, the true crime ones are incredible. Like,
they are incredible.
Production. It's not just that,
they're documentaries. And how are we going to compete with that?
It's a weird succession, because as it was back in the 20s, people used to gather around the radio and listen to stories instead of watching.
Tell me more, Uncle Lyle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's fascinating. Our generation is very visually learned, so we like to watch stuff versus to listen to stuff. Like where your grandfathers and stuff like that would rather probably listen to things, and now we're full circle and back into listening to things. Versus,
well, we're definitely multitasking. We're multitasking now probably more than ever, and podcasts are great for that. You pop them in your ears, and you can, you're not going to be able to write. I can't write with other, but you can do all sorts of things. You can work out, you can go on a hike, you can play video games, you can fuck if you really hate whoever you're fucking.
I have to say, I prefer like my podcast media to be in an audio format, because it's like,
well, most video podcasts are just people talking. So do you really need
exactly? exactly. And I'm like you said, I'm usually doing other shit. I'm either working or I'm doing the dishes or working out or whatever the hell it is, taking a walk.
Well, even if people are at work, a lot of people could get away with listening to a podcast at work, and still be, productive.
Yeah. I don't even know why we got going down this road, but I guess my point, maybe the excitement to rekindle that excitement of the theater in this day and age would be to maybe take a step back toward something a bit more chaotic and a bit more, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? Spontaneous, maybe, and less formaic and less predictable. Because whatever you think about the slew of movies that have been dominating the box office over the last decade or so, there are very few surprises and very few things that we can look back on that don't just blur with, was that part 1 or was that part 7? Mm-hmm. Or, oh no, you're confusing that movie with this other one that was inspired by that one. It was a different Spider-Man. It's like there are very few things that are noteworthy. I think that the reason we got away from that kind of filmmaking is because we just started looking at merchandising and box office numbers. If all of a sudden the studios and the theaters aren't necessarily giving each other the old reach around like they once were, maybe there's an element that can sneak back in to bring back maybe a little more, maybe like what YouTube was at its heyday, where it felt more like an even playing field, and you could have independent movies playing up next to Spider-Man 27. Go ahead, Lal.
I think there's a big, huge slippery slope that's going to happen, because what's going to happen, I think, more than anything, is that it's going to take that verge to being able to be streamed. You're going to watch the new series, The Lord of the Rings, it's all going to be done awesome. It's going to be streamable. You're going to watch it on your phone. Yeah. But what they're going to do is just bombard the shit out of it with ads. It's my I'm seeing this in the future.
Yeah, because we got ads in premium paid content now. Well, that's disappointing.
Well, you're getting it on paid stuff anyway, as a cable, providers, all that stuff, and internet. And I guarantee you're going to be sitting through a movie theater and watching ads, or sitting at home watching the new Spider-Man with ads in it.
Yeah,
I really hope you're wrong.
I believe. I think he's right. Because
I don't think so.
Listen,
I mean, Netflix.
There was doubt about
Amazon.
About Netflix has yet to do it, but Amazon, Hulu, and even HBO they're definitely edging more and more toward it. Hulu just straight up made their pay service all of a sudden have commercials, but then they're like, but pay a little bit more, and then we'll take those commercials back out.
Like YouTube or Hulu or Netflix or any of those.
And those are interrupting commercials. We don't use it. Yeah, go ahead.
We cut the cable, so all of our entertainment comes via streams, and we have kids, or we're constantly watching shit. And the only platform I've ever seen pushing that on me is Hulu. Like, we're using Disney Plus, we're using HBO.
Well, HBO pushes the latest few ads now. For their content,
right? Yeah,
are they're unskippable where they used to be skippable. Amazon's used to be skippable too.
Like prior to the feature, like doesn't interrupt the content.
Yeah, but that's where Hulu started too. That's where they all start. That's where YouTube started, and now YouTube can interrupt you in the middle of a fucking sentence.
All the time.
YouTube's the worst. That's a bad example because I don't think anyone's going to go as bad as YouTube has done it. YouTube is the king of just shoving shit into the face of the loyal users that made it count. I mean, what is YouTube? It is not a website. It's a hub for your content to be uploaded and enjoyed. That's all YouTube is. I can't believe how bad it is. I will only watch something on YouTube now if I absolutely have to. It's just gotten unbearable. Like they
watch shit on Vimeo instead.
Well, Vimeo is no longer doing videos, are they? I don't think they are. I don't think they host videos anymore.
You mean just like random videos?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I remember when we were looking in how to stream the burlesque show, which by the way we're doing another one for New Year's. I'm going to play a 1970s news anchor, and I do have a
similar format where you're gonna do like the intros to every.
Yeah, I'll be hosting them and stitching them all together.
God, I don't know. It might be worth looking into because like I have a free Vimeo account just because I've purchased a couple things on there and I watch them on there. But
I like Vimeo.
Seems like you can upload
Vimeo was
stuff
great.
to it.
What else? I've seen Dirty Dancing.
Vimeo was one of the best, especially if you're a content creator, because you could put the best detail. It didn't get compressed and just
yeah,
you know?
that was the big appeal. I used to do some Flash animations for my music videos, and they looked like ass on the original YouTube converters, but they looked great on Vimeo. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of Flash, it's Steve Jobs' revenge. Like, it finally is happening. Have you heard this?
No.
Flash is being removed from browsers. Like, Adobe has stopped supporting it in 2021. They're gonna fucking disable them from browser. Like, I think there's some browsers may still support it, but I think Chrome's getting rid of it.
Be like Pale Moon or one of these obscure little indie browsers.
You can't access Flash any longer. It's a security risk because they stopped updating it, and
it feels like that's happened a while ago.
It's been on its way out for a while.
Because I feel like so many things are they still say update to Flash, and then you click on it no can do, friendo.
I feel very strange about this because Flash was what started my career. That was my first really big usage of an application. So I have this weird feeling about it. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, it always
I made whole
heartstrings.
websites in Flash back in the day.
There you go.
Fucking website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flash was the shit for a while, but the death of it really was Steve Jobs and not supporting it with the iPhone, which is where more and more of us were going to access the internet with. We didn't have any idea it would get to the level that it is now, where a lot of people can be full-on internet addicts and not own a computer. You do it all on your phone except access Flash. So I'm at Vimeo.com right now. The reason I was confused is because all you get when you go to Vimeo.com is the power of video at your fingertips and an option to join and plans to stream and create high-quality videos. But then there's a search tab. There's no content on that page, but when you search,
the initial interface is a little confusing.
I wonder if my Mars Needs Our Cats videos is still up here.
If you haven't taken them down, they're still all there.
No, try searching again. Well, it's called Mars Needs Our Cats, so I don't know which other road to travel here, friend.
You don't have permission to view this video.
And the research comes to a conclusion. But
honestly, their search thing is a little weird because King Gizzard just put out a concert film a couple weeks ago. It is King Gizzard live in San Francisco 2016, and I was searching for King Gizzard, right? And King Gizzard San Francisco, and so when I searched for that, a bunch of King Gizzard videos came up, their regular videos and some other crap, people talking about King Gizzard or whatever, and I was like, where's this fucking movie? I pre-ordered it, I paid for it, where is it? I had to actually type in live in San Francisco without the King Gizzard for it to show up. So there's something about either the way it was tagged or their search functionality that's a little wacky.
Well, I would hope the title of the video would bring it up, but I'll go back and check. Maybe it's under Bloody Oranges. Well, we should move on to some news stories. I'm going to cut through a couple of mine real quick. And then, actually, I'm tired of hearing myself talk. Who wants to go next? I'll save these for a bit.
I was going to say the limitations of Flash that I learned was on my, MySpace page, doing those little...
Putting your sparkles up and putting your Mariah Carey on
was
blast.
Was that Flash? That was...
Yeah. Well, it was Flash encoding, I think. I thought.
It might have been HTML5, but...
Yeah, I think it was HTML, but...
maybe.
Did Flash even exist back then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Flash was around before any of that. Well, before HTML5, right?
Walk around and find out, John Mark.
Don't make us animate a tater chip going right across the screen.
I was just going to drop a tater chip.
I think I think the MySpace days were before I actually started doing anything like involving programming or using applications like Flash in a production standpoint.
Well, you know that Killing the Sea Beast video, I made that 100% in Flash.
It's great. Fun video.
I made that one with Christopher's in it, the Lullaby video. That one I actually did in After Effects, but Yeah, I did the same thing.
Bats.
What's that?
The bats and Chris with his top hat.
Yeah, that's the one I did that in an old version of After Effects. I think it was like After Effects 5, not C5, not CS5, but 5. I had some old pirated
Nerd
military copy of the Adobe Suite.
Someone wanted to mention at the very beginning of the show, and I forgot. I'm not sure if you want to just edit this forward, but can we talk about Shen and his awesome project?
Oh, yeah.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, he's got a brand new... I don't know if we've ever talked about him, but Shen's one of the kooky guys that used to come around the radar station. And he is a phenomenal artist, but he's been working on a graphic novel since I met him, which was, 5 years ago. Yeah. And he has finally got all the pages inked, and it's called the Psychedelic Singularity. And it's impossible for me to really sum it up, but all you need to know is that it contains a Sasquatch versus GMO element. But the artwork is unfucking believable. It's
amazing.
He fills the entire page with line art, and it's not just like Zentangle bullshit. It's really well thought out, and there are no margins or gutters or panels. It's everything. All the scenes are broken up with like a fallen tree will divide the scene, or power lines, vines. It's all. He gets really creative with how he breaks it up. I've never seen anything like it, and I've got one of his prints, and it's freaking amazing. Did you see his the video for his Kickstarter? I don't know if I saw the video. I watched something. You'll see some of his final pages. Yeah, I did see a bunch of that stuff. Yeah, it was really, really cool. Yeah, so you should definitely check it out. He's got I think a couple more weeks of his fund. He's about to hit his goal of 12,000. I think he's just a couple hundred away. But
and it's on a Kickstarter. It's on Kickstarter, and then the Psychedelic Singularity. Yeah,
Psychedelic Singularity. Look it up and watch the video. He's a kooky dude, big lumberjack looking guy, and really one of the most fascinating people I've ever met. Quite honestly, conversation with him can be long and fascinating.
Yeah, he's a really good dude.
Yeah, and I was sad when he moved. He was a big part of the Wenatchee art community. Huge part of Radar Station. I mean, he was in just about every show. He had to opt out of the nude shows because he didn't think his parents would approve. The dude has a really interesting story. He was raised by super strict religious people out in the backwoods of like Alaska or some shit. They had an outhouse they had to walk out and take a shit in when it was 20 below, that sort of life. Lordy. Yeah. Fascinating human being, though. Go check that out. Yeah, that's good. That's a good plug. John Mark, you got anything? Did you bring any info about that Israeli UFO story? Yeah. So in the last couple weeks, there has been a documentary that was released called The Phenomenon, and it's about essentially. What it's getting at is that the United States government and a lot of other, governments across the world have known about alien visitations and UFO stuff for the last few decades and have been covering it up. This is like that basic story is nothing new, right? But the information that has been released in the last 3 years, beginning with in 2017, the footage from Navy fighter pilots of these weird Tic Tac things out across the ocean were released. They were released. Somehow they got them from someone in the Pentagon, sort of leaked them. And they were published in an article in the New York Times, and this brought this to the public attention. And these are Navy pilots that are, basically above reproach, saying we saw these things.
We saw them visually. We saw them on radar. We followed them, and this was the things that happened to us, and there's no explanation for it, right? So what that meant was that essentially, the Department of Defense or the government or the Pentagon basically admitted to the fact that, which they haven't really done previously, saying, yes, these are things that our pilots are seeing, and we can't tell you what they are, and they're not trying to claim it's swamp gas or ball lightning or anything like that. And this documentary has a bunch of people, like high-profile people, like senators and military people, saying essentially. So he asked this one guy, I think it was like Senator Harry. I think his name's Harry Reid.
Yeah.
He's talking to him about these things, and it was astronaut Gordon Cooper. He was bringing up this fact that astronaut Gordon Cooper gave footage to someone to take back to DC to check it out of a UFO landing on an Air Force base, right? So they had footage of a UFO landing on an Air Force base, and Gordon Cooper gave this footage to someone to take back to DC, and he never heard about it or saw it or anything again, right? So he brings this up to Harry Reid, and he's like, what do you say? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What happened with Gordon Cooper? And he's like, so he gave this footage to them, and then the senator, and then Senator Reid says, and he never saw it again, right? And he's like, yeah, and he's like, mm-hmm. And then he takes a drink, and then so he asks, so then the interviewer asks him, so are you saying that there's information about this that's never been released? And he takes a drink of water, and he's like, I'm saying most of it's never been released. So what he's saying basically is there's all kinds of shit that has never been released to the public or exposed, and one of the key takeaways from this film was all the footage, or not the footage, but like all the stories that they had from going back from, I want to say it was the late 60s up through the 80s, maybe even to now, of UFOs basically buzzing nuclear missile bases, and they would come down and they'd be like hovering right over like a missile silo, and at least in one of the cases like a beam of red light came down into the missile silo, and the guy that they interviewed was saying yeah, I have no doubt that they were basically scanning the technology and what was down there, and they're gathering information about it.
Well, there's the famous Malmstrom Air Force Base in Great Falls, Montana.
That was the one where
they shut down the missiles.
Yeah, they shut down like one after another, like dun, 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 like 10 missiles, like just like offline, dun 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 dun, like that.
Yeah.
Well, there was in Europe that was the opposite. They armed.
They armed them. That is worse, isn't it?
There's two witnesses to it, and they're fairly famous.
Yep. They armed them. They armed them, and it was like they were getting a launch signal, and for 15 seconds they were like, "What the fuck is going on?" And they were freaking out, and then they just stopped.
Crikey.
Yeah.
This is the same Harry Reid that was the Senate Majority Leader.
Yeah. Oh. Yep. That guy. And so this documentary, and I highly recommend that everybody watch it, because it's just, I don't know, it's just. When once you watch it, you'll just be like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I tried finding it.
Well, it's on Vimeo, and I believe it's also on Apple Plus, maybe, and I think maybe Spotify. You can rent it or buy it on Vimeo. I bought it on Vimeo because there's like 3 hours of extra.
I think it's on Amazon Prime Video too, but you have to pay.
It might be, the Phenomenon. Yeah, you do have to pay for it.
Wow, since I've seen a good
well worth
UFO doc, so I might have
it's
to scroll
well worth
that
it.
Up.
So this movie comes out, and I watched it. I've watched it twice now, and right after I heard about this movie and watched it, I can't remember the exact timeline, but then the story comes out from this ex-Israeli. I can't remember the name of his title. It was like space minister or Chief. Something like that. He came out with this story that he was saying that there is this galactic federation of aliens that have been around for a long time, and he also said there's a few things in this story that I'm like, I don't know about this, but it was just the timing was interesting. But he was saying that there's this Galactic Federation, and they're like basically observing us, like we all, think what they would be doing if they were here. But he said that like the United States government knows about it. He said Donald Trump knew about it, but the government and Trump didn't say anything about it because fears of causing mass hysteria. Well,
the old mass hysteria thing.
A couple things wrong with that, or questionable about that, is like, do you think Trump will be capable of like not saying anything about that if he actually knew that was a fact? Like, I feel like that's something. I feel like that's something that he would just blurt out.
Or would he be afraid to cause mass hysteria?
All caps tweets. But anyways, regardless of that fact, he came out with this statement that he said that this is a thing that has been happening, and basically, like we're being deemed as not ready to know the truth just yet, the full truth just yet about what's going on. I just thought the juxtaposition of the timelines of this movie and that story coming out were sort of interesting.
Well, and this has been a year where we've had some pretty major UFO revelations that are kind of met with crickets, because we are, I suppose to look at it one way, if there is a government that knows of a bunch of shit and they're like, we've sat on this for a while, the public is they're going to be oohing and awing, and they're going to, maybe some mass hysteria, maybe. But however they react, they're also going to be pissed that we kept it from them. Maybe this is a great time to start, letting a little bit of pressure off that valve, and
I think it would be a good time for that to happen.
Out there and say, "Look, we told you told you in 220 or 2020."
It was a political thing a long time ago that I think was it Clinton talked about it, and he came out and said, "No, there's no aliens," and then it was Obama, "No, sorry, there's no aliens." Well, Hillary Clinton said the same thing. Well, if I get elected, I will go in there and I'll find out if there's aliens or not. Elect me, So it's been a thing with presidential election, the whole bar, So I really don't think there's anything there is to really know that, like, say Trump would know that he would spill the beans or something.
Well, it's easy to say that you would tell everybody. And then when you get sworn into something, first of all, you can't just tell people, right. You can't just tell the public at large top secret or classified information. That would be considered treason. It's not something that you can just do, no matter what your convictions or what your beliefs. So it's not necessarily true that there's nothing to hide, but there have been enough interested people in the White House that I would say it seems like something could have been put in place years ago. There's famous stories involving Nixon talking about aliens or showing. There's one, they're all stories, but there's that good one where he was golfing with Jackie Gleason, who was a huge UFO buff, and that Nixon just sort of like casually said, you want to see some alien bodies? And apparently Jackie went home pale-faced, laid next to his wife, and said, I'll never be the same again, because he saw some real alien bodies. Easy to talk about those stories.
Wasn't the story like Nixon came to his house and like just driving his own car and like picked him up and said, hey, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Like he ditched
security,
and which would have been easier to do in the 60s. There's no question.
For
60s
sure.
or 70s, but yeah, where are they? Where did he take them? And did he have the combination to whatever fucking? Yeah.
What I was gonna say was that in this documentary, there's footage of Bill Clinton being interviewed. He's on stage and he's talking about he's saying, yeah, I definitely was interested in finding out about this whole UFO thing. And he said, he was saying, if there's stuff out there, it was at a level that I was not privy to, and nobody was gonna cop it to me. And he's like, it was, if it is there, it's at a level hidden above even where I was going to be able to see it. And he's like almost ashamed to admit this, but believe me, I did try. Like, you know what I mean? Like he apparently did try to like get the lowdown on this stuff, but he was unsuccessful. But it wasn't like he wasn't interested in trying to find it. But you know, that doesn't mean anything, because like there's other people in there that are saying like, basically, like if this stuff is out there, but it's like it's at one of those levels that's beyond like any government oversight that people are going to have any eyes on. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like secreted away even beyond that level of scrutiny. So
top men.
Well,
anyways,
the top men thing is funny as a joke, but it's also fucking true. And that's why I'm so, there's always going to be at least a little bit in my head that will believe that things do work a lot like they worked in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And there is a fucking warehouse of all this shit that we have made myth of. And in a small group of top men that know that it ain't myth, that it exists. And think about how differently those people would see the world than we, the wanderers.
So if you guys are interested in watching this, I think I could stream it for us, like this weekend or something, maybe Saturday night.
Are you talking illegally, John Mark?
On Discord.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
I don't know. I can just play it on. I can just play it on Vimeo and stream it on Discord for just us, you guys. Yeah.
Down like Charlie Brown.
Good to me. Well, I'm gonna move on to. I only got 2 little stories here. We can move on, see what Lyle's got, and then do some trivia. But I found this. This is a brand new story, and it broke in kind of an odd way. It broke on from a woman posting about it on TikTok. And I don't know where she lives. Like I said, it's just developing, but it sounded like they were doing some sort of renovations in their basement, and they discovered either a hidden room or just a wall that was covered up and had bookshelves behind it that were filled with like old books. In some cases, they were like ancient.
Oh, wow.
I mean, can you imagine? I feel like my house could easily have some weird shit hidden behind a wall somewhere.
I've been in your house. I've seen the weird shit.
Can confirm. But we found all sorts of shit hidden away in spaces, like little hidden crawl spaces that he built for no reason, that most of them were filled with champagne bottles and like some CD players that he'd stowed away in one cubby, old newspapers. But there's these little panels like in the walls. One of them's on the outside of my house, and I have never climbed up on a ladder and tried to pull it off. It could be as simple as there had to be a repair on, I don't know, a pipe or a wire or some sort. Probably. But there's also little spaces like in the downstairs bathroom. There's just a panel that you can pull up, and then you can see this cubby hole down there. And I put a flashlight on there, and I can't really see anything. But I've also never climbed down into it. So who knows? There could be something like this discovery. But anyway, they started, I mean, imagine finding these in your house. They started to go through, see what they had, and they found some well-known books that were first edition. So they hired an appraiser to go through them, and that's what they're doing right now to see what they have. Like I said, some of these texts are almost ancient. So it got me thinking, 2020 isn't over yet. Who knows what Necronomicon ancient shit they're about to read out loud and open some portal to the netherworld, but hiding behind someone's fucking wood paneling, man. But it's interesting to think about what rare shit could be in there. There are tons of books that are considered lost to time, or thought to be, because they were either stolen or destroyed. Book burnings or banned, back before the times of book printing and mass production. There are records of them having been written and existing, but they don't actually exist in any form. So there could be some real treasures down there, and hopefully we'll know more soon. Now, parents, before you go tossing your kids' porn collection out the window, you're going to want to listen to this one. And Chris is listening, I know.
I'm like, I perked right up.
Yawn, ancient classic books that may be literature treasure.
My porn.
Yawn, the porn in the garbage. A man in Michigan sued his parents for throwing out his prized porn collection and won. Now, according to the Huffington Post, Beth and Paul Working were they'll have to pay his son David, who is 42, as much as $75,000 for destroying the porn. 75,000. I'll never understand this. You know, it's not a rare LP of like a mono pressing of Pet Sounds or some shit. It's jack off material, and it comes free now.
Maybe.
So should you. Huh?
So should you.
Good plot. It's a good story plot, you know.
He's a sucker for the full film. You can't always get those free.
Speaking of porn, have you been following this Pornhub story?
No, this would be a good time to interject with that.
Oh my God. Okay, I've only skimmed. I don't have solid details here from what I've skimmed from the interwebs, though.
Sure.
Somebody pulled up the fact that, Pornhub is like 80% user submitted at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Somebody pulled up, like, I guess there was an allegation of like child porn or underage girls being on there. So MasterCard and Visa like pulled their license with them. They said you can no longer use us to do transactions.
It's like 80%
Pornhub,
of people pay.
Pornhub pulled down like 80% of its content.
Wow.
This just happened this week.
Oh, I hope I didn't lose
and
any
I
of
didn't
my
actually
face.
read the story. I was just reading like headlines and subheadlines because I was like, holy shit, man. So who knows what's gonna happen with that one?
Lot of brain.
Well, that's a tough thing to do with user submitted. Although, like Chatterbait and all those, I know people that use those. They have to provide some sort of documentation. Wouldn't it be as simple as that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess if they've slacked for a while, shit could get up. There's got to be so many videos on that website. There's no way they can be keeping track of all of it, but they fucking should with something like that, man.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not talking about Charlie bit my finger. I mean, underage porn is some serious shit. 80%. I wonder what's
I might have those numbers wrong, but I don't think I do.
I bet my stuff is still up there. Just jack off porn.
I check every day.
You check.
There's some. I was trying to remember the movies. There was a couple movies that were done out like it was quite a few years ago by now. But I think it was called The Pirates or something like that. But it was like a full-on production. It was a porn.
Yeah.
Had all the sex scenes. It actually sold quite a bit of copies of the uncensored, the censored version, where there was no fuck scenes in it, but it was just the
great acting and the really
it was
plot.
Good. It was good. You could put it in the theater and people would watch it. It was that good.
Right, well, I'll take your word for it. I'll look it up.
But it's porn, so it's just like, wow.
Yeah, I remember that being a big deal.
Yeah.
To wrap up this story, though, the collection itself was estimated to be worth $25,000, but his lawyer suggested that they go for the extra $50,000 for damages. When I read that, I was like, yeah, I think I'd be damaged if my parents were anywhere near my porn. But so
you think about your poor mom.
So Paul Working, which is really close to jerking, it's one letter off. He got divorced in 2016, so he moved back in with his folks.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too. Which is it's a pretty common move, I think. Long enough to get back on your feet. I hope he didn't lose half the porn collection in the divorce. But he did bring his collection of Spank with him, unfortunately. And when old Jerky Working moved his stuff into his own place later, he noticed that his precious whacking materials be missing. So he asked his dad about it, and his dad full on admitted to tossing the collection. And he said this very old school sort of preachy dad thing to say. This is a direct quote from Huffington Post. Well, from the dad. That you would buy and watch films depicting such violence is beyond the pale. I have no words to express the depth of my shock and disappointment. Believe it or not, one reason why I destroyed your porn was for your own mental and emotional health. I would have done the same if I had found a kilo of crack cocaine.
My
crack
he
cocaine,
did not
folks.
mince his words.
Now,
Holy fuck.
Apparently his dad was most bothered, and I find this fascinating, by the incest themed movies and photographs that were part of his collection. Now, this is That's an interesting thought, isn't it? Having your family discover that you're into incest porn.
Stepsis porn.
That sounds like a conversation ready to be had right there. Incest porn, and your family knows about it.
Oh my.
Yeah, that stepbrother thing's a meme. Because there's like a porn of a chick. She's stuck in the clothes dryer, and she's like, "Help me, step bro."
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, all right. That's it.
Yeah. God, who knows what goes into what gets us off. It's a dark, deep, intriguing, creepy, and sometimes sad little world in there. But I don't usually judge, and I don't judge even with the incest thing. It never did a thing for me. But again, who fucking knows what goes into it? Now,
So you give it a try, right, Ron?
I'm afraid to give it a try. Are you guys with me that there are some porns that you're just afraid to give it a go?
I mean, the thing is about that stuff is it's just the title. It's just like the
Maybe to
fucking
you.
headline on a clickbait article. It doesn't mean anything. It's just
No,
like,
they're really brother and sister, John Mark. They couldn't say it if
shut
it
the
weren't true.
fuck up.
They're
It's so
siblings.
stupid. It's so stupid. I don't fucking get it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't either, but I don't want to, so I don't try. There's some porns I just won't go near. Now, according to Huffington Post, a detailed list of Working's collection that was entered into the
Working
court
screw.
record, Working, showed that it included 1,605 individual titles of pornographic DVDs and VHS tapes, and at least 50 sex toys and paraphernalia. Now, of course, you can never get all that back, but he can now afford to start a new collection. Now, who says we don't cover inspiring tales of hope? You might get his incest collection back, y'all. I wonder what, there's like one or two
Justice.
things that he's the most sad to lose. Like, ooh, I really got off on that piece. I got to find that tape on eBay. He went straight to eBay to
The
try
one-
to get that one back.
The one that got away.
I'm pretty
got
sure you
away.
could find anything you want just by searching for it on any of those porn sites by this point, right?
That's got to
Like,
be pretty rare if you couldn't. Now, he maintained, because this did come up in court, like somebody, I think, put it to him, like, why, like, what couldn't you just get online? He maintained that there was nothing illegal in his collection. There was no child porn. There was no
I guess maybe if he had some like vintage VHS copies of some
like Deep Throat, or if you had a real
right,
collection.
Taboo 2 or whatever.
But a
Snuff porn or
collection's a
two.
collection. It meant something
Jason
to him. So, yeah, Taboo too.
Well, you know what the thing is it's his age. He was of age and as an adult way before the internet.
Yeah, but I'm 3 years older than him, and I don't think I own a single porn on playable media.
I know somebody that still gets mail order porn. I'm not saying who it is, but I know somebody.
I get
Now, when I
I'd
go
say I
check
know him
them out-
really well. In fact, there's
got
words
real
coming
quiet
out of
over
his
there,
mouth
Ron.
right about now.
You're
In fact,
sad, Ron.
I forgot to check the
Right.
mail today.
because they never got illiterate with any kind of computer or internet, so that's all they know is watching it that way.
Well,
Versus,
look,
Yeah.
like I said, a collection's a collection. Who knows why we collect jars or stamps or, I mean, records? Yeah, they're usable, but no one needs as many as I got. And there are
What about-
people that have.
Well, we can just like compare this to the same thing as like somebody who's like super into video games where they had like maybe a bunch of fucking Atari 1600 cartridges or 2600 cartridges or like Super Nintendo cartridges or
Collectors.
NES. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like where
and
like,
just practical use.
you can get those games on MAME or emulate them or whatever,
Sure.
or just download them from the Nintendo fucking store. But that particular physical object is
But he
worth
wants-
something to
he wants the
somebody. You know.
Remember when we used to
Yeah.
call Nintendo
Is that-
cartridges tapes? I never got behind it, but I know
never
a lot of
did
people
that.
did. Never heard
Never
it
did
called
that.
Nintendo tapes. They
Nope,
definitely
never
called
did
them Atari tapes. Yeah. We'll trade
Cart-
Atari
No.
tapes.
No,
Maybe it was just an
cartridge.
NES thing. We were dumb folk up there. Lyle, do you got any news before we move on to some weird trivia?
had a whole lot of pornos.
Go on.
Do you still? Do you, you do still have some porn, don't you?
Me?
Uh huh. Did we? I
Probably.
feel like we talked about this, and you had
I
like.
have a couple signed copies of Olivia.
Hi.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. with
Olivia
my-
Munn.
Olivia
Man
Munn.
of
Well, that's not
gentleman
porn.
taste.
Or did she do porn? She never did porn, did she?
She did a Playboy. She did that.
Oh, yeah.
But she wasn't nude. It was just a.
I still don't consider. I just feel like I don't consider Playboy porn. I suppose it is. It's funny how it never really felt like porn to me.
Yeah, well, it's a discussion we're going to have on a future thing, which was something I wanted to talk about anyway with the whole COVID thing going on.
Okay.
But we'll talk about it at a separate time. What do you guys think about those monoliths? Those mysterious little metal monoliths that have been
They look so cool till you see them from the very first one that looked amazing. When you see it from behind, it just looked like it was totally fabricated with some sheet metal.
Oh, that's funny. I hadn't seen any of those. But yeah, regardless, even before I saw any behind the scenes, it was just like taped up, propped up with sticks. But yeah, my first thought was initially just some art project. But what I love is that it's inspired it. We even have a couple of monoliths here in town. I may or may not know who's behind that. But yeah, I think it's kind of a fun little project. But that one, that first one really did look nice and razor sharp. So I want to look up the back. Well,
look it up when it's in the back of the truck. They got a picture of it when they were taking it out.
Monolith from behind is going to bring up all the wrong kind of video.
All the right kind.
Give you a monolith from behind.
I just want to watch 2001 now.
2069, Sex Odyssey. That's my favorite softcore film. Look it up. That's probably on Pornhub. Monolith from behind. Oh, I was supposed to look up a truck.
Monolith from behind.
Yeah, it's really
great podcast
from,
name.
The front, but truck.
Well, I recognize that from behind.
What? Yeah, I don't. Oh no, I don't see anything. Oh,
I still can't believe I got to see 2001 with the fucking Seattle Symphony Orchestra playing the soundtrack for it. It was fucking amazing.
I was pretty jealous about that.
Benaroya Hall. Holy shit.
Okay, so I do see one with a bunch of kids loading it up into a truck. Yeah, it still looks pretty good though. Although it kind of looks like a stainless steel water tank.
I'll have to find the shot I was talking about. Anyways,
they came out and saying that it was an art group. It was a bunch of people that were in a kind of like an art group.
Yeah,
that actually started designing these. And basically, what they did too is they sold them. Each one went for like $45,000.
It's brilliant. Can you imagine what? Yeah. Oh, how much?
$45,000.
Yeah, and imagine that in any fine art gallery in the world. Maybe 10,000 if you're lucky, 12,000. You're not going to get 45,000 out of that. But if it's famous, it's one of the reasons why the art world is such bullshit. That's coming from someone who has 2 art magazines.
About in 1988.
In a gallery. You saw what?
I saw Art Group open for Einstein and Neubauten in 1988.
Well played.
Come on, Ron.
Well played. What?
Oh, what?
I do see one in the truck. Is it the triangle one you're talking about, Chris?
No, it's not in the truck here. I've got it right here.
Shit show.
The one in the truck that I'm seeing looks just looks like a triangle sculpture, but it is less majestic when it's in a truck. Go ahead, Lau.
The particular ones that were sold were actually replicas for $45,000.
They were replicas. They weren't even the original one on the scene.
They weren't even the real ones. No, I think they kind of got caught in the middle of it. I think they were going to try to go a little farther and expand a little bit farther, but then
you're probably right.
Do you guys ever feel like we're not on the cutting edge of figuring out how to scam people for fucking tens of thousands of dollars? Like, come on now.
We get on that cutting edge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, here's something else that was kind of found that was pretty cool. We've talked about this machine actually before on the show. I think it was during the previous show. But it's the German Enigma machine.
Mm-hmm.
They found one at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, and it was used in World War II. They basically used these as code. They're like code breakers. They're like,
I saw this. They're in Wolfenstein too.
Yeah.
And they're cool. They're cool as shit looking. They open up, and you open them up, they're like a typewriter, but then they have gadgets and little dials and everything on the top. And then in the front face of it, is a board that protrudes down, and as you pull it down, it looks like an old switchboard from like the early 1900s that you'd see a telephone switchboard operator use. So there's these little plugs that are basically little jumpers like fuses, and they pop around, and you have to have them in a special order while you're breaking all these codes. It's just fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
But they found it, and what they're going to hopefully do is to clean it up. They thought it came from a German U-boat that went down, and it usually has, I guess, 4 rotors, but this one only had 3. Part of the instruments is they found it like, clumped together. So hopefully they're going to be able to restore it and get it put back in the State Archaeological Museum for everybody to enjoy. Cool though.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there aren't many of them still surviving, and it took them forever to learn how to crack that machine. So it was a really successful machine. The only thing that beat it was number stations, as far as I know, in terms of difficulty to crack.
Yeah, there were only 250 of those surviving the machines. They're pretty rare for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see one in person. I don't know where the closest one is. They're in museums all over the place, but pretty awesome and creepy. Fucking Nazi machines that were used to do dastardly things. But, well, should we get on to some weird trivia?
Yeah, let's, can we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's do that. We're right back.
All right, are we all here?
Let's do this.
Are we all here?
Jamar?
Yeah, I don't. Am I here? I don't know.
Is anyone here?
What is real?
What is a here?
Yeah, there.
What is an here?
More importantly, you ready for this? Oh my god, I love it when you take a few weeks off and you come back with a little more spring in your step. Yeah, a little more zip.
It feels like it's been 3 weeks.
It has been, I think.
Well, it feels like it's been 4 weeks.
3, 4.
It has been.
What is time?
What is an time?
What is time? All right,
baby, don't count it.
Okay, we're gonna start this round of weird trivia off with a listener submitted story. Thank you again, TJ, for sending this in. That means this one's gonna be worth 2 points. And if you are at home and you see a story you'd like turned into a weird trivia story, please email that to me at christopher.bizarre@gmail.com. All right, 2 points, guys. The lockdowns we've been going through have been hard on everyone. Even in Scotland, where a 28-year-old star-crossed lover was jailed for breaching coronavirus lockdown rules to visit his girlfriend. What great lengths did this young man go through to see his lover?
7 inches.
You did actually say a hard on. You did.
Did I go
hard on? You did.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It was hard on him.
I'm sure it was. All right, what did he do? Was it A, he dug a 2-mile tunnel between his town and hers?
If I had a raging hard on, that's what I would do.
Yeah, just dig right through with your cock, right?
Yeah.
Was it B, he took a 4-hour jet ski trip to visit her?
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a trip on jet ski.
Oh shit, right?
How many times would you stop to fuel up?
Was it C, he made a homemade hang glider that he launched from the top of his apartment building to get to her?
Believe it or not, I'm horny as fuck. Never thought I would jump from the building.
Can you do a song for everyone? Or was it D? He donned a police officer outfit and he'd walk to his girlfriend's apartment nightly after curfew.
Oh. Well, that's just clever.
Yeah.
And you get the added benefit of a little role play. Got the handcuffs on.
Dude. Monster, you want to go first here, buddy? What you got?
Well, I'm tempted to go with the Great American Zero, leaping on a hang glider. Although the hang glider is problematic because how do you really land? I don't feel like you're going to be 100% with the hang glider. The jet
Have
ski,
you ever been-
I'm wondering.
Have you ever been in love, Ron? Anything
I'm
possible?
starting to wonder if I if you can't hang glide in for a night of love make, have I ever really felt the pash? I feel like I'm leaning toward the cop bit. We dressed up like a cop and just strolled on downtown, pretending he was on his beat, so he didn't have to beat it.
Okay. I saw what you did there.
Phrase.
Okay, Jamak.
Do 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 do. I'm going with D with the cop. I don't know. That has the ring of truth to it to me for some
It
reason.
sounds the most. I guess Lyle knows how far you can get on a jet ski, probably better than any of us.
Yeah, not that far.
I wouldn't think that you'd be able to go 4 hours, but
Well, I'll tell you what. You could go from
could have extra gas.
Linden Tree Park, or not Linden Tree Park. What was it? The one down by Rock Island. You get up there to the dam twice, so not that far.
Okay.
You're looking at 18 times 4.
Yeah, so you'd have to have. But if he's horny as fuck, he could have packed extra gas. If this ends up being the fucking hang glider, I'm going to be royally disappointed in my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's not the drop; it's the sudden stop. I'm going with hang glider. Let's go, baby.
All right.
Believe it or not, it's just me.
John Mark,
It's got to make a
John Mark-
sound as he's landing in the backyard, right?
Yeah.
John Mark, just for clarity, which one did you go with?
The cop.
D the cop. The cop.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Question 2. Honeybees in Vietnam have found a new way to fend off those pesky murder hornets we've been talking about. We've been talking about how the honeybees in Japan found a way. They've been dealing with them for thousands of years, and they know a way to get around being slaughtered. They all just cover the murder hornets and vibrate really fast till they cook them to death. It's really fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
The honeybees
How
in
did they
America.
discover
we don't-
that they could even do that?
It's incredible, right? Well, we have something akin here in Vietnam. They found a way to fend off the murder hornets. So we talked about the honeybees in Japan. We talked about how America doesn't have this immunity yet. They don't know how this. They've never been introduced to them, but Vietnam has something fascinating here. What do? Is it A? They have the whole colony play dead as soon as a murder hornet arrives.
Well, that's brilliant.
Is it B? They offer up their queen for sacrifice right away.
I like that too. Smash the matriarchy.
Is it C? I hope you like this one too, Ron. They confuse the murder hornet by having dozens of honeybees attempt to mate with it.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking.
Or is it D?
That. Do you like that?
You don't want to invade us now, do you?
Or is it D? They survive by spreading a bunch of poop they've collected all over their hive.
No, you had to throw a goddamn brown herring in there.
I did, and I deuced. Monster.
Well, I'm drawn to it like flies to honey. I feel something pulling me toward the offering up the queen. I'm trying to think of what the real... Although then they'd have to... I guess I don't know what the queen does. I guess I just don't know about bees and insects. But is the queen the only female? Are the rest just male? Is that as simple as that?
Yeah.
Can't confirm nor deny. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, well then, I don't know if they would want to offer up their one vagina. Do bees have vaginas? Can we get judges? We need judges for this. I want to. If Chris can't confirm or deny, I want to go to the judges. Fuck it. I'm going with the poop. Why am I even trying to wax on any other answer? I'm going with the shit one. Yeah, throw
All
shit
right.
at him.
I'm so glad you did.
The brown herring. Brown herring strikes again. C was the mating one, right? They were gonna
Yep.
Yeah,
confuse them with the
fuck 'em.
mating signals. I'm gonna go with that one.
It's brilliant too.
So
They're all great, but well, the queen one might be a bad idea, but I don't know. It depends on where they fucking get a queen. Where does a queen come from? Maybe they kidnapped the queen to begin with. Maybe it's a bunch of marauders, and the queen is a prisoner. Do we know anything about bees?
Queen is magic.
Well,
I'm just a little silhouette of a man.
I clearly can't argue with it because I'm not even on the table of contents.
Well,
I'm talking about.
I'm gonna
bees.
say fuck it. That's
Oh
what
shit!
they tried to fuck it.
Fuck it. Just throw the. Yeah.
They're all bumping around. Oh, how do you like that?
This has to have been something that like Genghis Khan would have done, or something back in the old days. Like, just fuck them to death, or better yet, send them all your whores the night before a big battle, wear them out.
Mhm.
That's probably been done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mean whores too.
Your mean ones. Don't let them go to sleep, and don't be a one and done. Got to keep them. Yeah.
All right. Question 3. If you've been a good boy or girl this year for the last 10 days or so, you might have been opening up little doors on an advent calendar. If not, there's still time. Plenty of options for different types of advent calendars out there. For instance, my son has a Pokemon advent calendar, and let me tell you, trying to get a 2.5-year-old to wait one day to
Yeah.
open his next door is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
This was a terrible
That
idea.
is young.
Yeah.
That's young to wait. Mhm.
Anyways, in fact, it may surprise you that one company, which is a household name to us all, has offered up its own advent calendar this year, and it's kind of a funky one. It quickly sold out too, might I add. What am I talking about here? Is it A Taco Bell advent calendar featuring prizes such as hot sauce packets and taco and burrito pins?
What's the spice?
That may sound ridiculous, but there are people who would go to Taco Bell just so they can ask for extra sauce. Because the kind they sell in the grocery store is not the same kind. It just isn't.
Dang.
Not enough fire, man. Need that fire
I get
sauce.
some fire. I still have some
Is
for
it-
my first wife in one of these drawers around here.
Is it B, a Domino's Pizza advent calendar featuring individually wrapped and preserved mini pizzas?
Oh, I eat that.
Gross.
I tried.
Miniature wrapped and preserved pizzas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Noted.
You keep laughing. Laughing.
Keep laughing.
You know what? I got you for Christmas a fucking Domino's advent calendar. You can eat those pizzas.
Well, I just made some pizza
Should've opened
earrings,
the door.
and the slices that'd probably pan out to be about the size that I can imagine these would be.
exactly.
It's a fun idea, but I'm more troubled by the I mean, that'd be room temp.
I don't think they're meant to be like real. They're like a almost like a dehydrated treat. Anyways, moving on. Is it C? An answer that will
All clear.
garnish less laughs, I'm certain. A Ticketmaster advent calendar featuring miniaturized ticket stubs from the most prevalent concerts of the last 20 years.
Okay.
Or is it D? A special Starbucks advent calendar which only feature whole roasted coffee beans, one bean at a time, of their top selling coffees.
Oh man,
That's cute too.
I like my coffee.
Well, Ticketmaster jumps out at me because that is kind of that's kind of not dumb.
What? First off, fuck you.
Well, yeah, I don't listen.
Guys,
I've never had a reason to
First
get
off-
cocky on this part of the show, so I don't know why I feel it now. Well, I
what
just
sounds like a real answer, not what you want.
and yet, the whole point of this part of the game or this part of the show is weird fucking news. I'm gonna go with Ticketmaster because I think that I don't know. That's well, they're all weird. But God, I don't fucking know. What was A?
A Taco Bell advent calendar featuring prizes such as hot sauce packets and taco burrito pins.
This is tough.
Arriba, Taco Bell.
I'm gonna stick with the Ticketmaster.
Okay.
One of these things is not like the other, but I can't quite put into words or even form into thoughts what it is. Because I'm trying to picture is like, do I really care that U2 is on the 20th day of Christmas? You know what I mean? It's like, who does that appeal to? And yet I could see it being a thing. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. I got you. Joe Mark.
I'm gonna go with Taco Bell.
Yeah, that was my close second. I almost changed my mind there at the end.
Okay. Lyle?
So explain to me how these calendars work. Are they have like little, like every day you just take a thing down like your kids?
It's like a cardboard box that but it's flat and and you open up little panels and usually they have like like a chocolate in them. It's like your traditional like once they get a little like Santa chocolate.
Most of them now seem to have candy, but I think traditionally they would be charms that you would just display like on your mantle. And from what I remember reading about it, but yeah, an advent calendar just counts down the last 12 days of Christmas usually. We were going to do a Christmas burlesque show, and it was going to be the 12 days of Christmas, but the naughty list. But we just got too busy and doing the New Year's show. That's too much back to back.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with the Ticketmaster one because it's the one I would want the most. Could you imagine just like I don't know, whatever the day fucking say Woodstock was, you pull the ticket off and you get a look and see if actual, a shrunken downsized factual ticket stub of that. Dude, how fucking cool is that? That's pretty cool.
No, I wonder if Ticketmaster was around back then. How far would they go back? But yeah, I wonder if Pearl Jam's in it. If it's a real thing, because that'd be kind of funny.
One last little fuck you.
They're like, God damn it, we have to put him in there.
All right, question 4. It was confirmed a couple of weeks ago that this activity is going to be added to the 2024 Olympics in Paris as a competitive sport in which you can earn a fucking medal in. What are we talking about? Is it A, parkour, or free running?
I'm sorry, but could you repeat the question before we go on to the rest of the answers?
Yeah. It was confirmed a couple of weeks ago that this activity is going to be added to the 2024 Olympics in Paris as a competitive sport in which you can earn a medal in.
Gotcha.
Is it A, parkour, or free running?
I can never hear the word parkour without thinking of The Office.
No, I can't either.
Parkour. Like jumping over curbs. Parkour. Kicking. Parkour.
Is it B, DJing?
Are you ready for this?
Gold medal.
DJ. Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. Let me rock it. Let me feel it. Shaka Khan. Gold medal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready to be an adult and listen to the rest of my answers, Ron?
I don't know. I can't promise.
Is it C, breakdancing?
Okay, well at least that. Well, the DJ could be providing the beat.
Or is it D, beer pong?
Oh God! Now that is believable.
You had to get serious. Mm-hmm.
I've never played a single game of beer pong.
Really?
I'm not 100% sure how it works. I got a pretty good idea. Seems fairly simple, but no, I don't think I've ever played. The closest I came was actually at Christopher's at the Beer Olympics.
Beer Olympics. Yeah.
That was fun.
What are you gonna go with, buddy? You're like, oh yeah, we're doing this thing, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we gotta pick. Well, I'm torn between parkour. Boy, God.
It was parkour, DJing, breakdancing,
Parkour.
beer pong.
Parkour.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with beer pong. I'm torn between parkour and beer pong, but
You usually are, yeah.
although, God, they definitely would have to change the name. I
One
would
leads
guess.
directly into the next. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. But like, they do log rolling in the Summer Olympics, don't they? But they're not using like lumberjacky logs. They're or caber tossing. But anyway, I'm gonna go with beer pong.
Okay. John Mark?
It better not be.
I'm gonna
fucking
go
DJ.
with. I remember back way. Let's take a trip back in the Wayback Machine to 1980 something.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of Silver Spoons, and Alfonso Rivera was a star on that show.
Mhm.
And at the time he had a thing called Alfonso's Breaking and Poppin' that he was like hawking on TV. And I was like, God damn, I wanna break dance. Fuck, that looks so fucking cool. I'm gonna go with breakdancing.
Okay. Interesting choice.
I got the Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo soundtrack on vinyl, folks. How's that for a breakdancing flashback? God, we were obsessed with
Nice.
that shit when we were 8.
Okay, let's see. Where are we at?
Oh, loud
I
start.
Yeah.
kind of feel like the Olympics should escalate into more of a extremer sports. You had Ninja Warrior that really kind of gripped my mind when you're talking about athletes and conditioned athletes that know what they're doing. They're gonna put a show on for you, and that's for sure. So, and you think about like wrestling and stuff like that, like whatever, WWE and all that stuff. They're showmans, but they're packing the goods. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would think parkour definitely is an athletic sport because dude, some of the stuff that they do is just insane, let alone mentally.
Mhm.
But I think to judge
Tough
it
to judge, yeah.
would be easy because you just slap a GoPro on them and you get to see what they're doing. You know what I mean? I could totally see it. I could see them
but-
setting up a little area to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe not so high.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Well, that's
maybe
a good
not
point,
so-
actually. There could be a parkour course.
Yeah. Of course.
Oh my.
Dude, did you just
Sponsored by-
coin that? Oh my god. Parkour?
Parkour.
Holy shit, that is the best.
I'm sure it existed before, but I never saw it. Yeah,
That's
there could be a parkour, and if so, then they may have certain moves that they have to hit. I mean,
Awesome athletes.
snowboarding is a free form sport out in the wild, but to add it to the Olympics, they made specific moves worth certain points. So I guess you could do the same thing with parkour. You can do that with anything, really. So yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, you're probably right.
Okay.
Parkour.
All right. Let's go over the answers. See
Okay.
what happened here. All right. Question 1. A 28-year-old man in Ireland, Scotland. Ooh, that was a cardinal sin, I guess. Was jailed for breaching coronavirus lockdown rules to visit his girlfriend. He intended on taking a quick little trip on his jet ski, just 45 minutes is what he estimated it would get to her. It would take to get to her. And it ended up taking 4 hours.
Wow. Well, he must have had a hell of a jet ski or packed for extra fuel. I guess you would.
Yeah.
You'd need to anyway, even with the 45-minute trip.
Yeah. Anyways, I thought that was hilarious.
Big whiff,
so,
huh?
Nobody got that. Big whiff. Question 2. Honeybees in Vietnam have found a new way to fend off the pesky murder hornets that are creeping up on us here. And the way they do that is by spreading a bunch of poop they've collected all
yes.
about their hive.
Excellent.
The roadster point.
Well,
Apparently the mortar,
well, that's
they
my
won't-
own security system that I do here. And the
Yeah,
dog
you
just
can believe.
build a perimeter of pyramids out there. And ain't
very
no one,
very topical and topical.
ain't no one come a robbing yet. Knock on poop.
You should see his gardens.
Yeah. Oh boy, they call me the Mushroom King. That's not why.
all right. Question 3. Advent calendars. We all love them. Lyle's never heard of them. May surprise you that you can get a whole bunch of different kinds, including, I have a photo of it for you right here.
Motherfucker, you know, it's Taco Bell. The reason that I almost went to Taco Bell was because they're the company that just does weird shit like this, right? Like, it seems like Taco Bell is constantly doing like wacky shit. Weren't they about to open like a nightclub, like a Taco Bell nightclub, or was that a joke?
Well, they did something.
No, there's a Taco Bell hotel
in Vegas. I think
and it was not a joke. It's
like
real.
What other fucking fast food is doing this kind of shit? Like, they have such kooky ideas, and they at least seem to work for a little while. So we got hot sauce, Diablo sauce. Yeah, well, that's pretty fun. I get it.
I think in the 80s, I think McDonald's got to pull it off with their, little actors, the like Grimace and the Hamburglar and everything like that. I think they could have maybe made a hotel franchise.
Well, one thing McDonald's did do was they had a whole toy line. Remember the Ronald McDonald doll? As far as I know, you could only buy them at McDonald's, but you could get the Ronald McDonald doll. I remember it had a whistle for some reason that you put in his mouth, and when you squeezed his gut, he blew on the whistle. That was fun for parents. I was always obsessed with the Hamburglar. I recently I've been doing some McDonald's themed paintings of late because I'm still kind of obsessed with McDonald's, even though I don't think I've eaten that food in 15 years, 10 years.
I'd like to see you do the moon guy. You know what I'm talking about? The McDonald's moon guy.
The Big Mac Tonight guy.
Yeah,
that was a short-lived character. Big Mac Tonight.
Clearly made an impact on fat me as a child. Sadly.
Well, that would have been about the time like you were in high school, right?
Yeah, what was that?
Oh my God, that was way before.
I guess that was about the time I was in high school. Yeah, forget how much.
I remember being maybe third, fourth, maybe fifth grade. I don't know.
Like, I want a Big Mac tonight, maybe 2.
Or 3.
All right. Lastly, question 4. It is confirmed a couple of weeks ago that this activity is going to be added to the 2024 Olympics in Paris. We were talking about breakdancing. Pop and lock, John Mark. Pop and lock. That puts John Mark at 2 points over Ron's single point. Congratulations, John Mark. Once again, you've reigned.
Damn.
Terror.
Motherfucker.
Small men.
Yay.
Yay.
Men.
Top man. Well, I got bees throwing out shit to keep people from marauding their honey pot. And I'm pretty comfortable with that win. I'm going to consider that a win.
Well done.
I would too, actually.
I just want to hear more breakdancing. Yeah.
I feel like it's got a good snap. But is breakdancing, I guess it won't be the breakdancing that I grew up with. It'll be that weird fucking voodoo shit that they do that makes it look like they're floating on their heads, and I don't know what's going on with some of that shit. I've seen that happen and right in front of me. Like, I thought, first time I saw that, I thought it was some like, what's that? What are those dance movies that came out in the early 2000s?
Step Up.
Step Up, was that it? Yeah, something like that. But you see them like floating back and forth on their heads. I'm like, what the fuck is this CG bullshit? But then my friend Jody and I went to Hollywood and we saw breakdancers like doing that like right in the sidewalk. Like, wait a minute, their hands are up there and their heads are down there. Is there a trick? Are they wearing like some sort of hidden roller skate barrettes?
Oh, we got a raunt and an old man raunt tonight.
What are you kids doing on your heads there? What are you worshiping Satan? You can't do that without Satan. Well, anyways, that was a fun show. A little rambly, but it's been a while since we all hung out. And I want to put another call out for feedback. If you want to be entered to win an original Ron Evans painting again, there'll be 3 or 4, maybe even 5. I'm busting them out, and or cranking them out, as Chris might agree with.
I'm cranking them out,
and you'll have a choice of which one speaks to you. If you want to be entered in that drawing, then let's say from between now and next Monday, let's see, what will next Monday be? Well, let's just make it Christmas. How about you have up until Christmas? Let us know what you think. Do you want the shows to be just kind of more freeform like this, more shooting the shit, more cash, where it can go any which way? There's always a little bit of that. Or would you prefer that we keep on with some of these souped as hours and themed shows, or would you like those to be more of the exception as opposed to the rule? Let us know. RadarStationArt@gmail.com would be the best place to send that, and that will get you in the drawing. And I guarantee not many people will enter this, so you got a pretty good shot at winning yourself a full-size Ron Evans original painting. Won't your friends be envious that you listen to such refined podcasts and you own something that will probably be robotic or otherwise lowbrow in age? Maybe there'll be something McDonald's related. I have been in McDonald's painting mood.
And Ron only paints with his own DNA, so
Well,
one of a kind.
I always run out of white. I never know why. Just be glad I have plenty of brown, folks. You don't want to buy a brown herring. Well, tune in next week. We're going to try to, I've got something, I want to do a year-end show, and it always gets away from us. Like the holidays always make everything tricky, and it's like Christmas is coming, and the second that's over, New Year's is here, and I've got the burlesque thing to do, but I'm going to try to work on a year-end review before Christmas. So that might be the next show that we do. I'm going to quiz you all on our past shows and news stories over the past year, and a who's dead and who's alive quiz, which I think you're all going to enjoy. I'm curious to see how this goes. So tune in next week for that, or maybe the week after. We can't know. And until then, take care of yourself and each other. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a happy week. Believe it or not, I'm horny as fuck. Never thought I would jump from a building.